Hi everyone, how are you guys doing this evening? That is good to know. Behave. He's been aggravating me all night. I got a true story for you guys I'm going to read tonight. And it is called... What? Yes, it is true. Look, it's true stories. Amazing stories of life after death, true accounts of angelic afterlife, and divine encounters. These are mostly hospice nurses talking about their patients that they've had. This one has a Bible verse before it. They all do have a saying or a Bible verse before it. And this, Sherm, I've had enough. 1 John 4:19. And it says, we love him because he first loved us. Amen. Loved us so much, he gave his life for us. Make sure I don't get lipstick on my teeth. All right, and this story is called Cole and Jesus. Get my bookmark out so I can follow along. One hot Sunday evening, late in the summer of 2010, 8-year-old Julia stood at the windowsill of her brother's bedroom and watched Jesus escort her 6-year-old neighbor Cole to heaven. Earlier that day, the boy lost a 2-year battle with cancer. His passing devastated family, church members, and friends around the country who followed the updates of his deteriorating health on social networking sites, including one devoted to him. After Cole's diagnosis at age 4, the disease slowly took its toll on his body. By April 2010, he could no longer walk or move his arms. By the middle of July, he couldn't open his eyes or mouth. And for the final 6 weeks of his life, Cole lay in bed, unable to communicate with those around him. They could do nothing but watch as his life slipped slowly away. He passed a little after 4 in the afternoon. Although his passing came as no surprise, it certainly didn't diminish the family's crushing grief. Losing a child hurts. Burying one as young as Cole numbs the soul. Julia's experience of watching Cole take his eternal walk into heaven provided peace and comfort for those who loved the little boy. A little over an hour after he passed, Julia and some friends were playing in her younger brother's bedroom. Remember, Julia was 8. Without saying anything to the other children, she took a break and walked to the window. As she looked out over the yard, she saw things many people here on earth have never seen. A cloud lined with lights and jewels that sparkled from the rays of the early evening sun descended from heaven, but the cloud's passengers overshadowed its beauty. Little Cole stood there holding hands with a man in a long flowing robe. Right away, Julia recognized the man as Jesus. Like many who have seen Jesus or angels or demons, she just knew. They didn't need a neon sign or a 100-foot billboard. You just know, they say. You just know. Julia knew. She smiled as Cole turned and waved. Then Jesus turned and waved too. Her smile broadened. She no longer cared about her friends or the games she had left. Instead, Julia stared wide-eyed at the splendor of Jesus in his golden robe. He stood tall, about the height of one of her middle-aged neighbors. And Cole? Julia told her mother that Cole's face glowed and his smile spread wide. He looked happy for the first time in years, smiling, laughing, loving life like he did before he got sick, she said. A large number of angels, more than Julia could count, surrounded Jesus and Cole. Some waved palm branches at Jesus as he passed by. Some sang Starry Night. Others simply waved their hands in the air. She noticed one angel played guitar. All were smiling. Jesus continued to smile as he said, "Julia, you should tell your mom, and you should tell other people too. You should tell everyone. You should tell them I love them a lot." Jesus' long brown hair flowed onto his shoulders, touching the red sash that hung from his left shoulder and tapered diagonally to his waist. It particularly covered the jeweled buttons on the front of his robe. Wow. Can you just picture that in your head while I'm reading this, you know? Jewels also lined the edges of his golden robe. A pair of silver sandals, also decorated in jewels, covered his feet. For his ascension into heaven, Cole wore a silver robe encrusted with jewels on the sash and hem, and a pair of silver sandals, also decorated in jewels. On his right arm, he sported the multicolored silly bands popular with children and teenagers. You remember them? The little rubber band things. It's like shaped like animals and things. Cole and Jesus each wore a belt adorned with dazzling jewels. I'm just picturing this in my head as I'm reading it. Aren't you guys? Can you imagine? Wow. How could you see that happen to a loved one and then be sad? You couldn't be. You'd be more than happy for them. You'd be jealous even. Like, oh, that's not fair. I want to go too, you know? A few days later, when Julia finally told her mother about her experience, Julia said the robes looked soft and cozy and warm. She also said that as Cole and Jesus rose in the sky, they were smiling and waving at me. Some of the angels stood like statues, guarding the fence around the property of Julia's home. Mesmerized, she watched as Cole and Jesus moved through the singing angels of various sizes, all with bejeweled wings. Julia, who had seen angels before, was fascinated nonetheless by the large, medium, and small angels, each with long wings that protruded from their backs. According to Julia, the little angels, those around 5 to 6 feet tall, with wings 12 to 14 feet wide, could fit into the home she shared with her mom, dad, and brother. Some of the middle-sized angels also could fit into the house, but the angels that surrounded Jesus and Cole were much larger. With feet firmly planted on the ground, each rose far into the sky, their heads touching the heavens. The wingspan of these angels stretched nearly 20 feet wide, enough to fill their family room as its widest point. Some of the angels wore silver robes with gold sashes across the chest. Others wore plain gold robes. All wore silver sandals with little jewels. The belts, similar to those worn by martial artists, cinched around their waists, were covered with jewels, some shaped like stars, others like arrowheads. To celebrate the joyous occasion, the angels sang as they watched Jesus and Cole rising into the sky. Wow. In escalator-like fashion on a giant sparkling cloud. Wow. 7 points and swirlies, like the clouds described in Ezekiel, lined the edge of the cloud. The constantly changing colors reminded Julia of Christmas lights. Could you imagine how beautiful that was for that little girl to see? It had to be so amazing. She'll never forget that in her rest of her life. In Ezekiel 1:4, we read, "As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with a fire enveloping it and flashing continually. A brightness was about it, and out of the midst of it there seemed to glow amber, metal out of the midst of the fire." We find another reference to a vision like this 9 chapters later in Ezekiel 10:1 and 2. "Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was over the heads of the cherubim, there appeared above them something looking like a sapphire stone. in form resembling a throne. And the Lord spoke to the man clothed in linen and said, "Go in among the whirling wheels under the cherubim. Fill your hands with coals of fire from between the cherubim and scatter them over the city." And he went in before my eyes. Still on the cloud of many colors, Jesus and Cole continued to smile and talk. They stopped and waved again to Julia. Excited, she waved back as they ascended above the trees. Then she was pulled away from the vision by her friend Casey, asking a question. Julia turned to answer, and when she returned her gaze to the backyard, Cole and Jesus were both gone. Right away, Julia tried to tell her mother, Rebecca, about the vision, just as Jesus had instructed, but her mother was busy working out details for the lemonade stand Julia's entrepreneurial 6-year-old brother wanted to build, so he could take the profits to buy land on which to build a restaurant. When Julia finally shared the story a few days later, her mother recalls that Julia was so excited, but wasn't jumping up and down like one might expect of a child her age. At one point, Julia told her mother, "Jesus told me to tell you." Since then, the two have retold the story dozens, possibly hundreds of times. It should come as no surprise that people love hearing about Julia's experience. Her story brings hope, encouragement, and relief. Well, I tell you what, I really enjoyed reading her story. How about you guys? Did you enjoy hearing her story, Julia's story? And I 100% wholeheartedly, with all my heart, believe she's seen that and it was real. I truly do. I have seen things myself, nothing like that, but I've seen things myself, and I know there's an afterlife. For a fact, there's an afterlife. Trust me, there is an afterlife. There is a heaven and there is a hell. And if you're not saved, please think about your life. Turn and talk to God and Jesus. Read the Word. Listen to the Bible readings online. Come to Jesus. Get saved before it's too late. Because once something happens, it's too late. You'll come to Jesus and say, "Please, what about when I did this? What about when I did that?" But those things won't matter. Jesus will say, "I do not know you," and cast you out. Because you're not in the Lamb's Book of Life. And you'll be cast into hell for eternity. Please don't let that happen to you. It's your choice. Yours and yours alone. Nobody can make that choice for you but you. Jesus gave his life for us on the cross. He died for our sins to give us the opportunity to be saved and be with them in heaven for eternity. It's your choice whether you choose to believe and do good and join Jesus in heaven, or you'd rather spend eternity in hell. A lot of people think it's a joke, but I promise you to God, it's no joke. It is no joke. And if people are making fun of you, you're afraid people's going to make fun of you if you believe, those people will be in hell for eternity. They'll be crying out to Jesus, trying to get out of hell. They're not going to be no help to you. You aren't going to worry about what they thought when you're in hell. You're not going to worry about that. Not one little bit. You're going to worry about just wanting to get out of torment, and you're not going to be able to. So if you're embarrassed, don't be embarrassed. Come to the Lord. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you come to the Lord, then maybe that'll show your friends, hey, maybe there is something to this. And maybe you'll turn them to the Lord as well. You just never know. But that's all I'm going to say about it. Just know that it is 100% real. And know that it's your choice. Bye, guys. Good night.